I've spoken repeatedly about the nomination of Adeel Mangi to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Notwithstanding his anti-Semitic affiliations, it seems every week a new law enforcement organization announces its opposition to this nominee for his record of associating with the most radical type of anti-police activists, those who support cop killers. Apparently, some Democrats are finally listening to law enforcement and the Jewish groups sounding the alarm. Last week, a number of Democratic senators reportedly told the White House that they didn't think Mr. Mangi has the votes. This produced, of course, a panic on the left. This week, a New York Times columnist accused Republicans of Islamophobia for criticizing Mangi and his dalliance with anti-Semitic activists. Democrats, on the other hand, were urged to get in line and vote for him. Who is it giving this advice? Well, the author of the piece herself had previously speculated that Israel may be engaged in genocide in Gaza. She called the Israeli war of self-defense a charnel house of horrors. She defended the anti-Semitic boycott, divest, and sanction movement, and she even got mealy-mouthed about the October 7th attacks, saying, two can play the game of who started it and who is to blame, rolling back the clock to biblical times to try to fix ultimate responsibility for the catastrophe on Israel and Palestine. So again, what has Mr. Mangi done to deserve friends like these? Or indeed, to merit such vehement, blinkered defense from the Biden administration? Just yesterday, the White House called opposition to Mr. Mangi's nomination a, quote, smear campaign, solely because he would make history as the first Muslim to serve as a federal appellate judge. How insulting. What self-respecting attorney wants to hear that a president cares more about the demographic tick boxes than their life's work? Besides, in the case of Mr. Mangi, Senate Republicans' opposition has absolutely nothing to do with his Muslim faith. Rather, it has everything to do with his long-standing sympathy for and association with some of the most radical elements in society. I happily voted for the first Muslim Article III judge at the outset of the Biden administration, also of New Jersey. So did 31 of my Republican colleagues in one of the largest bipartisan votes for a judge in the Biden presidency. But we didn't support this nominee because he was Muslim. It was because he had an extraordinary personal and professional background. Mr. Mangi's Associated Senator at Rutgers asked convicted terrorists if they overly exceptionalized 9/11. Judge Quesarsi, on the other hand, thought 9/11 was exceptional and joined the Army soon after rendering honorable service in Iraq. Mr. Mangi spent his career making millions defending corporate clients like foreign energy companies, massive drug makers, and even chocolate monopolies, all while volunteering his time to support anti-police activists. Judge Quesarsi, on the other hand, supported law enforcement professionally, first at Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and then as an assistant U.S. attorney. We're told that any questioning of Mr. Mangi's record is Islamophobia. On the other hand, the terrorist-adjacent Council on American Islamic Relations demanded that senators probe Judge Quesarsi's experience in the Army and law enforcement, saying their concerns must be addressed. According to Democrats' rhetoric, Shouldn't this organization also be condemned for Islamophobia? Two Muslim Biden nominees with records as different as night and day. Republicans happily supported the nominee who served his country and backed the blue. We have and will continue to oppose the nominee who has repeatedly chosen instead to mingle with supporters of terrorists and cop killers. I hope more Democrats will join us in opposing Mr. Mangi, and should they fall victim to spurious associations of bias, perhaps they should remind the White House of an alternative candidate rested and ready in the federal courthouse in Trenton, New Jersey.